Hey everybody, if you're looking for a new TFL work truck comparison, this is not it. Today on the lawn, I've gathered over $250,000 in half-ton pickup trucks, and this video is all about luxury. That's the GMC Sierra Denali, that's the 2019 Ford F-150 Limited, and over there is the 2019 Ram Laramie Longhorn. Now in this video, we're gonna crawl through all these trucks, we'll compare the features, compare the price, of course we'll go for a drive, and then at the end, I will tell you which US brand builds the best luxury pickup. And I can already tell you it's going to be a tough decision, so let's get started. Right off the bat, I think we have to talk exterior styling. So over here, the Sierra Denali, I think this is easily the loudest pickup truck when it comes to just straight up exterior style. It's really in your face. It's hard to ignore that massive chrome grille. Now F-150 and Ram both take, in my eyes, a bit more of a subtle approach to luxury, and it really is a tough call. Of course, it's a personal preference, so you guys let me know in the comments which one you think looks the best. If I'm honest, I really don't like this limited badge, and if that wasn't there, that might be enough to make me go for the F-150. I really do like the C-clamp look, the way the grille pushes into the lights like that, but that limited badge is just a little obnoxious for me. So overall, I gotta go Ram 1500 still. There's just something so nice and understated about this style. Add on those massive 22-inch wheels with those polished pockets. They are gorgeous, and the front end of this truck, to me, just screams modern technology and luxury. Let's take a look at what powers these beasts, and we'll start with the least powerful, which means we go over here to the 2019 Ram 1500. So that is the 5.7 liter Hemi V8 fit with the e-torque system. That's e-torque right there, and it's essentially an electric motor slash belt generator, which helps to provide a little bit of supplemental torque to the engine to smooth things out. So overall, this powertrain makes 395 horsepower and 410 pound-feet of torque. Now next up in the power department, we skip over the F-150 and come over here to the Sierra Denali. So the Sierra uses a naturally aspirated 6.2 liter V8 that makes 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Now this is the only engine here that's just purely naturally aspirated, no turbos, no electronic wizardry going on here. This thing is just straight up classic old school V8 muscle. But it's not the most powerful of the bunch. It used to be, but for 2019, the F-150 takes that crown. So this is the 3.5 liter high output EcoBoost engine, which makes 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. Of course, this is a twin turbocharged 3.5 liter V6 engine, very different from the V8s in the other two trucks here, but this one does make the most power, and I'm excited to get it out on the road and really see how this high output EcoBoost feels.
All you Ford owners out there, do you get annoyed by your auto start-stop feature? Well, now you can simply install this, the auto stop eliminator, to prevent your vehicle auto stop start feature on every ignition cycle. Just use the link below and go to autostopeliminator.com to see how easy it is to install and use this little device.
Now let's take a look at the rear end of these trucks, and first of all, they all have a dual exhaust, although they're all a little bit different. Now over here on the Ram 1500, this truck has something neither of the other two do, the Ram box storage system. Now for 2019 it's changed, it's actually a power operated button now that opens these up, but they are still lockable, and they're still the same Ram boxes that we know and love. $1,000 for this option, but if you do need lockable dry storage, those are a great option. Now back here at the back, interestingly enough, all the tailgates here now too are just push button, they're electronically powered. You got a nice damped tailgate there. Our model has this sort of gate back here, which is a load stopper, but the other things you can see are the LED lights there at the back and that bed rail system up top, which allows you to adjust where the tie downs go. Now over here on the Ford F-150, no tonneau cover here, same thing, you got a push button, Tailgate is nicely damped, and we're hauling a big load right now in the Ford. My coffee cup from this morning. Here is the F-150's bed. It uses the box link system, which allows you to buy a number of different accessories and different tie-down cleats which fit into those receptacles. A pretty great system, plus a physical tie-down as well at all four corners. And this truck does have a spray-in bed liner. The other thing it has is Ford's pretty excellent tailgate step. Now this is the redesigned version, so 1 step, 2 steps, and boom, there's the step, there's the handle, and that does make it quite easy to just climb right up into the bed of this F-150. So now let's look at the back end of this Sierra Denali. So first of all, you get those excellent corner bumper steps. They're always ready to go. That's the issue with the Multi-Pro tailgate here. You can see we have a hitch in, and with the hitch, you cannot use the Multi-Pro tailgate's step function. Now, of course, it's controlled by 2 buttons, top button for the little gate, bottom button for the big gate. Now, I can't use the step, but I still can show you. This folds down. You get a workstation out of it. You can also fold up this little flap to make a load stopper. And then when it's folded down, this acts as the step. But if I was to fold it right now, it's gonna get beat up by that hitch. So that is a bit of a design flaw with Multi-Pro. Now, I can put this back up and just fold the entire tailgate down so we can look in the bed. And the Sierra's bed is actually pretty excellent. So you can see 3 physical tie downs in each corner at different heights, which I absolutely love. You get those grooves in the bed walls that you can fit pieces of wood into across the bed and make essentially a tiered system. And then you have 1, 2, 3 cutouts for more tie downs if you want to add them. Another thing GM made a big deal out of was it made its bed almost 7 inches wider at the actual walls. So the wheel wells aren't wider, but the walls are. So if you haul something like sand or hay or gravel, you're actually going to be able to use that space. And even if you put something like an ATV in here, you get more space down the sides. So if we're talking about just the usability and utility of the boxes and rear ends of these trucks, I think the Sierra is the best of the bunch. Oh, and there's one detail here I almost forgot in the back of the Ram, and there is actually a bumper step here. Now this is an accessory, so it's dealer installed. You put your foot up there, and this little step pops out just like that. Now let's start looking at some of the features. And first, I want to start with the back seats and see what each one of these trucks offers its rear seat passengers. So first, the GMC Sierra. And I think the biggest party trick in the Sierra is right here. These seat-mounted little storage cubbies. Pretty nice, pretty hidden away, and always nice to have a little bit of extra storage. Now the Sierra seats, the backs do not fold down, but the bottoms do come up. And in this Denali, we have this big plastic storage bin, which opens up like that, and you can store stuff inside. Now when it comes to what's here in the center console, you get 1 USB port, 1 USB-C, a 12 volt, and then you do get heated rear seats, but no cooling for the rear seat passengers. Now let's keep on moving up the line. This is the Ford F-150. So let's see what's back here in the rear seats. First of all, the backs of this F-150 fold down, so you can fold all the backs down, and then the bottoms also fold up, which is handy. And I love that there's nothing in the way down there. It just leaves you access to this massive, totally flat floor. And the flat floor in the F-150 is the one that's been here for the longest, and it really is nice if you have big stuff to store. Then let's see what the passengers get back here. You're getting 2 USB ports. You're actually getting a proper 3-prong plug, heated seats, and that 12 volt. So pretty good amenities for your rear seat passengers. So now let's take a look in the back seat of this Ram. So first of all, these seat bottoms only flip up, and you're also left with a big flat load floor here. Now the other trick the Ram has, you can see the handle there, is these seats actually do recline. Now it kind of takes 2 hands. You squeeze the handle, pull forward, and you can see how that seat slides out like that and actually reclines. And then for amenities, rear seat passengers get 2 USBs, 2 USB-Cs, 1 3-prong plug, and heated and cooled seats. Now I want to talk about price before we jump inside and really start seeing what makes these trucks so luxurious. So first, let's talk about this Ram 1500 Laramie Longhorn. So you'll see on the build sheet right here, we have the pricing. So this truck starts at $71,045. And the total price after options, $88,495. And of course, this is all Canadian pricing. And we can just take a look at some of the options here. So you're paying more money for all the different safety features here. Of course, you're paying for a tonneau cover, the limited slip rear diff. Going for the Hemi with e-torque is $800. This massive sunroof is $1,500 by itself. The bigger fuel tank, $445. The wheels are $1,200 alone. These big 22s on here, although they do look nice. And then of course, Ram box is a $1,200 option by itself too. So total price, 88 grand, and that's on this Ram Laramie Longhorn right here with this gorgeous interior. But we'll get back to that in just a moment. Let's move on down the line to this F-150 Limited and see what this thing is worth. And there's the build sheet right there. So, F-150 Limited. Now, the base price on this vehicle is already $83,000 before you add stuff on. And there's only a few options here. The wheel well liners, the spray and bed liner, a larger fuel tank as well, box side steps, skid plates. That's the thing with the F-150 is when you go limited, almost all of these options are built in and you don't have to pay extra for them, and that is including this massive panoramic sunroof just like the Ram has. So in the F-150 it's included. On the Ram you got to pick it. Anyways, total price for this F-150, $87,399, so just a hair cheaper than the Ram Laramie Longhorn, with what is also a pretty dang nice interior. Again, we'll get back to that. And finally, we have the GMC Sierra Denali. Now, this is kind of interesting. Let's take a look at the pricing. So here's the build sheet. Now, the starting price for this truck is $67,900. So the starting price is less than the other two. And then take a look at the total price, $79,240. So this truck is many thousands of dollars cheaper than the other two. Let's look at some of the options. One group is $7,000, and that essentially brings along everything you're gonna want in this Denali. All the different technologies for driving, the head-up display, the big wheels, the powered steps, all kinds of different things in that one package. And then of course the engine is a $2,800 option to bump up to the 6.2. Of course the block heater's on here because we're in Canada, and you do get that underseat storage in the back. So that brings our total to $79,240. So the Denali in this group actually ends up looking like a bargain. So this Sierra is the cheapest of the group, and the question is, does it deserve to be? Well, first of all, let's start it up. Alright, so not a bad sounding V8 on startup, which is nice, and the electronics here, my two screens, they do look crisp and clear. So in terms of the technology that's presented to me, it does look up to snuff. Here's my issue with this interior. You've heard this complaint before. All of this black plain plastic. Just this big sheet, this slab of plastic, and all these little black plastic buttons are sandwiched into it. I don't get the thinking here. I guess these chrome knobs were supposed to sort of break it up a little bit, but to my eye, you get in, you look at the center stack, and instantly it is visually underwhelming. Otherwise, besides this, I do like the leather and the soft touch up here on the dash. The wood on the doors kind of looks and feels a little fake, especially when you compare it to the wood in the Ram, which looks and feels gorgeous. So yeah, you know what, it's nice, but there's not a lot of it either. There's a little on the doors, a little down here, a little more actually would have gone a long way. Now in terms of the actual leather itself, the seats are plenty comfortable, no complaints there. I only get one USB port up front, which it'd be nice to have another one. It is nice to have the plug right there. And then you get this big, deep center console, which again is massive, fits all kinds of stuff. USB, USB-C, and an auxiliary port in here. And then a double glove box, which I always appreciate because just, you know, having more interior storage is nice. And finally, something that all of these makers are doing now, a little spot up here on the dash where I can throw my loose, you know, whatever, and I love having those spots. Let's move forward, hop in the F-150, and I'll give you my impressions there. now it's time to climb in the F-150 here. But before I do, I want to point something else out, the steps. So the powered steps, and all three trucks here do have powered steps, like you'd expect a luxury truck to. The powered steps on the F-150 and the Ram, they actually kind of lower down and then swing out. So the step up height just isn't as tall. The GMC slides out like this, just straight out. So the step up is a little bit too tall, and then you have to kind of duck to get down into it. So the step on the Sierra is just a little annoying to use. The F-150 and the Ram, it's definitely better. To be fair to the step on the Sierra Denali, it does have a party trick, which is probably why it is the way it is. That thing swings back, so then you're able to step up onto it and access your bed, which is pretty nice. So let's climb in here, and same thing, we'll start it up, see what everything looks like. Nice. Love that you're presented with the Build Ford Tough logo right off the bat, smashing into some concrete. Having those little startup screens is pretty fun usually. So, technology here in the Ford, I have a really nice display screen right here in front of me. You know what, same as the GMC, everything looks nice and crisp. The one thing I give Ford credit for is offering you a ton of information. There is just so many different screens and status screens here, and that is nice to see. It's always nice to have, you know, all of that information right at your fingertips as the driver. Now, in terms of interior, you know, just luxury, Ford does a nice job with this Limited, and I think it starts with these seats. The seats are not only comfortable, definitely softer than what's in the GMC, they're also just gorgeous. Just look how nice these are with the Limited badges on there. These seats really set this interior off for me. And then you get the nice stitching, the leather up here on the dash, which is again nice and soft. And then here, it's this plastic piece, but it's finished in this sort of, you know, fake metal kind of look. And that's the sort of attention to detail that really makes a luxury interior nice. Now, my only knock against the Ford, it's kind of the same for this truck as it is in the GMC. Straight black plastic right here in the middle. There's a lot less of it here in the Ford, but just this little number pad to me, it's just a little ugly. They could make it a little bit nicer. I know I'm nitpicking a bit now, but for 87 grand, I think you should be nitpicking as well. This wood actually feels pretty nice, and over here above the glove box, it's actually this nice open pour. It has some texture to it. Now, no double glove box in this model, just this little sill right here, which is sort of, you know, kind of useless. Then there is a double space when you open the glove box, but the storage up there on the F-150, not the best. And finally, you have this little cubby up here on the dash, which I appreciate in all of these trucks. And in the Sierra, there's a little step up, so there's kind of two spots up there. In the F-150, it's just one big bit. I think that's it for this interior. Now let's go hop in the Ram and see if that truck is really worth the most here, and if you should be paying 88 grand for it. Let's go. And now let's hop in this Ram here. And wow, this thing really is gorgeous. Let's start her up. Nice, the Hemi sounds good on startup for sure. And this truck, it's hard not to get in and just be really impressed. I mean, this 12-inch touchscreen is just visually stunning. And my complaints in the other trucks, let me turn that off actually, the idle's pretty loud, I want you to be able to hear me. So my big complaint in the other two trucks was that big slab of black plastic in the middle, and Ram has the most beautiful solution. Replace it with a massive screen. Now there is black here, but it's all piano black, and I know it can be hard to keep clean, people complain about that, but it does look beautiful when it is all clean. And then the other thing with this interior, I've gone on about this before, is attention to detail. All these different textured materials, and then the wood. The wood feels absolutely beautiful. It's this open pore wood. It feels real. It feels, you know, actually textured to the touch. That Laramie Longhorn Edition brand right there, that's an actual brand. They actually heat it up and stamp it into the wood. Yeah, you know what? You get in this Ram interior, and it's hard not to be blown away. The gauges up here have these beautiful little details around them, and then even the graphics in the screen. If you look at the background of this screen in the middle, you'll see the graphics have this leather texture to them, which is unique to this truck. So even the graphics are kind of playing a part in the whole theme of the Laramie Longhorn. And of course, this is their cowboy themed truck. Now, these seats are beautiful, but I have to be honest and say the F-150 seats I think are the softest and most comfortable of this group. The Rams probably second, and then the Sierra in last. The F-150s were exceptionally soft and really hug you. The Ram seats are nice, they're just a little bit harder. Now over here we do get the double glove box, which is nice, up top and down below. And then everything going on here in the middle is pretty special in the Ram here too. So you get one small opening, which opens to this small storage spot, and a USB port. Nice. You open the entire thing up and it opens up into this massive bin. Now here, the thing that houses the cup holders, it slides back and forth. So if you put it all the way forward, you get this big bin here in the back, and then there's even little dividers down here in the floor. If you flip them up, you make yourself a big bin. If you slide this thing all the way back, you can close that. You do cut off your cup holders, but then you expose all this space up in here. This is just a really smart idea, so you can customize it to however it works best for you, and there is a ton of space down here. So everything going on here with storage is really smart. Then plus 2 USBs, 2 USB-C ports up front, which is nice as well, so you can make sure everything gets plugged in. So in the interior game, Ram takes the battle. Just a little bit over the F-150, which is quite nice as well, and then the Denali definitely comes in third. But remember, that's the cheapest of the bunch, and it has the second most powerful engine, that big 6.2, and that's what I want to talk about next. So I'm going to go for a drive in all three of these. We'll see how they drive. We'll talk about luxury driving features, and then at the end, I'll have to pick a winner. And I got to tell you, I'm excited to drive that 2019 F-150 Limited with the big high output EcoBoost. Let's go do it. Alright, time to drive these trucks. We're starting off here in the Sierra Denali, and as I back out of this long driveway, I'm going to use it as a chance to look at all the different camera options, because these trucks are all fitted with 360-degree camera systems. So here on the GM, you go to reverse, you get this overhead and rear shot. I like the overhead shot a lot. It really gives you good detail, and you can really see the edges of the driveway in this case. Now if I switch over, you can get just the rear shot, which is nice. 2 views. Oh, there's the front angle right there. There it is on the camera. And you can just get, I mean, it's kind of weird, the perspective on it, but you can just get super close. That's a much better view. And the truck did that automatically. It switched over to the best view. But look how close you're able to get thanks to that front camera. Anyways, we're going back again now. So back in reverse, here we go. You also get that rear view, which is nice if you're backing up to something close. Now this view here with this weird little 3D truck, I don't know, it's a bit strange, because again, the perspective is kind of weird, but I guess if you were backing in between 2 different cars or something, it'd be handy. Same with this view if you have things really close to your sides. Then this view is excellent if you're pulling up to a curb. Now, I'm not doing that right here, so, you know, I don't really have too much use for it. That's actually a great view even for this driveway, because I can see where either tire is on either edge of the driveway, which is handy. And then of course you have your hitch view if you're hooking up a trailer. So the GMC, it's got a nice suite of cameras, and it is worth mentioning that if once you go into drive, the camera stays on, then shuts off. There is a camera button, so you can access these cameras. Now let's see though, when you're moving at speed, this is interesting. There's a little countdown in the corner, and it will only show you your rear camera for 8 seconds, I think that was, and that's it. So you can't access all your cameras while you're moving, just that rear one for a short burst. Now let's really hit the road, and we'll talk about how this truck feels. Let me start off in this 6.2 liter V8 equipped Sierra by doing this. Yes, when you bury your foot, this truck takes off. And actually, that's why this Sierra Denali is the bargain of the bunch, the powertrain. You're getting the 6.2 V8 hooked up to a 10-speed automatic. It's making 460 pound-feet of torque, 420 horsepower. This thing is a monster, man, and I've towed many of trailer with this engine. It stays strong, and I know it's not the most powerful of the group, but it is the most powerful naturally aspirated engine of the group, and there's something to be said for that. The power here is very smooth, very linear, very predictable. The power in the F-150, we'll get to it in a second, but it's a little more jerky than the power here. So yeah, you know what, in that context, when you're looking at powertrain, this truck does look like a bit of a bargain. Now, once we're on the road here, what about other driving technologies? Well, first of all, let me tell you what this truck is lacking: adaptive cruise control. No adaptive cruise in the Sierra Denali, although adaptive cruise is available in both of those other trucks. And it's a bit funny because here in this truck, there is front collision warning. So if you're gonna collide with something, it will tell you. So there are sensors up there watching, but GM just doesn't offer adaptive cruise. The one other driving technology that has to be mentioned in the Sierra is something you can't see, and that is the adaptive suspension. So the damping here in this truck is adaptive. The dampers will change how they react, and they're constantly reading the road and changing. So the suspension here can sort of change how soft or hard it is, and that's always nice. Now, on to the F-150. It's F-150 time now. So first of all, let's put it in reverse, back out of the driveway, and see what the camera system looks like. So first of all, you get this plus up here. Now that zooms in on a hitch if you have it, and you get the same view. You get a rear view and a top-down view, just like the other trucks. Now on the Ford, it's a physical camera button. You hit it, you get just a rear view. Hit it again, you get that kind of split view, which is a rear but right out to the corner, so it's very wide. And then back to your regular view. So you only get 3 choices here in the Ford. This one is definitely the best, having the rear combined with the top view. And yeah, you know what? The one thing here in the F-150 is the images seem a little bit smaller than in the other trucks, and maybe not quite as nice, not quite as crisp, the actual image quality. This is definitely enough views to show you around your truck, but in the battle of the cameras, the F-150 falls just a little bit behind, I'd say, strictly based on just how it looks. It just doesn't look nearly as nice as the other 2 trucks. Now, let's drive. Okay, time to sample the power. Nice. Oh, and it just pulls and pulls and pulls. Man, this F-150 is quick. So this is the high output EcoBoost, which is now in the limited model for 2019. It's the same EcoBoost that comes in the Raptor. So it makes over 500 pound-feet of torque, and you feel it all when you bury your foot into this thing. Now, it definitely takes a beat. You kind of put your foot and it goes. So you have to consider that. That's just the fact that it's a smaller turbocharged engine, and compared to the Sierra with its super smooth power, this power is a little more jerky because you kind of feel the turbo hit, but when it hits, there's no comparison. This is easily the most powerful truck in this Comparo. Now, there's drive modes here on the Ford as well. So normal, tow haul, snow and wet mode. We have Eco, and then Sport. So I'm gonna go over to Sport. It'll keep my revs up, make sure the turbo actually stays spooled up, and bury my foot. And yeah, nice, crisp, responsive downshift. So this truck uses a 10-speed automatic, arguably the same 10-speed as what you'll find in the GM. Now, the transmission was co-developed between Ford and GM. The companies will tell you that they're totally different, that they think and act differently, but you know, from a driving perspective, they feel the same, which is a good thing. They both have nice, crisp, fast shifts. They know where they want to be, and in the F-150 paired to the EcoBoost, I can't find fault with this transmission. Here we are on the Ford, and we're approaching a red light, so I'm coming to a dead stop, and that gives me a chance to mention something. All of these trucks have a stop-start system, so I come to a stop, and there we go, engine shuts off, lift my foot off the brake, nice and smoothly comes back on, and away we go. Now, in the Sierra, it has stop-start, and that was also pretty inoffensive. This F-150 really stays out of the way, but in theory, the Ram should have the smoothest stop-start thanks to the e-torque system, so when we're in the Ram, we'll definitely look into that. Now, what about the other luxury features? Well, one small thing I just noticed, take a look at this. The steering wheel stock, the adjustability on it, it's powered in the F-150. In the Ram and the Sierra, it's still a manual, you know, latch, and you gotta move the steering column around. There's just something about an $80,000 vehicle that screams, I should have a powered stock, and this F-150 does. Now, there's something else that the F-150 does that the other two cannot do, and that is give me a massage. Yes, these seats are actually massaging seats. You access them through a screen down here in my center stack, so you go to massage, you can turn it on low or high, and then it starts massaging it. So now let's climb behind the wheel of the Ram. Alrighty, and time to back out in the Ram. So turn the dial here, and there is what you see. So one interesting note is, besides the fact that you do get this big 12-inch touchscreen, it's not like you get more or bigger camera views because of it. The camera system still only uses the top half of the screen. So just like the other trucks, you get a top-down view and you get a rear view. Now cycling through, you can get just the rear view, just a front view, a front and a top view, and then the rear view, but then you get this plus up here, and that'll zoom in on your hitch and make sure you can hook up perfectly. Here in the Ram, you definitely do get this really nice, sharp rear view image. Although the battle of the cameras in terms of just how many looks you get around your truck, the winner is the GMC. Now it is Ram time here. So first of all, I want to see how the stop-start system works. So here in the Ram, it should be the smoothest of the bunch thanks to the e-torque system. It's a 48-volt mild hybrid system, which helps this engine start back up. So you come to a stop, there goes the engine. Now I'm gonna lift off, we'll see how it feels. Wow, okay, so that is noticeably smoother and quieter than both of those other trucks. The engine just starts up, there's no shake, no vibration. In the EcoBoost and the 6.2, you felt just a little bit of sort of shake as it gets going, but here in this truck, that is a beautiful, smooth restart. So overall, I would say that stop-start doesn't really get in the way in any of these trucks, but here in the Ram, it is noticeably smoother. But now let's see if e-torque really makes a difference in the power department. So let's put my foot into it. Okay, Hemi. Okay, Hemi. I didn't really think I'd ever say this about a Hemi, but after getting out of those two trucks, this Hemi's a little underwhelming, to be totally honest with you. It is down on power. I mean, only 395 horse. And then here's the thing with e-torque. Ram does say it adds power over 100 pound-feet, but that's sort of disingenuous. Your power, your torque is never actually at over 500 foot-pounds. You don't add that on. What it's doing is the electric motor is a belt generator. The generator here does not drive the wheels. It's only hooked to the engine, but essentially what it can do is spin all of those pulleys on the front of the engine and take load off of the engine to allow the engine to better drive your wheels. So Ram describes it as sort of the first half turn of the wheels when you're getting going from a standstill. You're getting that boost of e-torque, and then as you shift, when the transmission is shifting between shifts, that's another time when e-torque will step in to take load off of the engine to make those shifts even smoother and just, you know, kind of smooth out the rough edges of the powertrain. So e-torque doesn't give you that big kind of hit of electric power and electric torque that electric vehicles are known for. So do not expect that when you get in this truck. And like I said, I never thought I'd see this day, but this 395 horsepower V8 compared to the other two, it's just a little bit underwhelming. So I'm taking off from a stop sign there, and that's another point about the Ram is with e-torque, this truck does use regenerative braking. So as you hit the brakes, the truck is essentially harvesting power and putting it back into that 48-volt battery pack. But that ends up resulting in really touchy brakes, and the brake power doesn't feel linear. It feels like you're slowly pushing down on the pedal, and then you hit this point where all of a sudden the truck says, okay, we need to brake harder. So it's not like progressive braking, it's just all of a sudden it ramps up on you. And that's a little funny, you know, it takes a little getting used to. And any hybrid with regenerative brakes, the brakes usually are a little touchier, and that is the case here in the Ram. So that is noticeable, and it's just sort of sad that the brake is noticeable, the power off the line not really noticeable. Maybe if you put me in another Hemi without e-torque and I did it back to back, but the differences are certainly minute. Now the time has come to choose a winner, and it's not easy. I have 3 beautiful luxury pickups behind me, but if I was spending my own money, my own 90 grand on a luxury half-ton, I'd be heading to my local Ford dealership. That's right, the 2019 F-150 Limited really is the complete package. A beautiful luxury interior, tons of great luxury features, and then a bonkers powertrain that really pushes it over the edge and sets it apart from the competition. So in the battle of the luxury half tons, I'm going with the Ford. So that's it for this episode, guys. Make sure you go below, leave a comment, let me know which truck is your favorite, and as always, come right back here to TFL Truck for the latest news, views, and real world reviews. I'll see you next time.